my Gemini friend. This video is going to be about North Node in Leo or North Node in the 5th house. I have a video in the description about North Node, South Node, all of that a little bit more in depth. But when it comes to whether it's in Leo or in the 5th house, what you want to do is look at the sign that your nodes are in as like the way that it's playing out, like characterized by, like as if it was a character, actions that can be acted through the Leo energy. If it's in the 5th house, it's more focused on the area of life for you. The 5th house area of life being creativity. This is Leo energy. Leo is, honestly, this is a pretty great North Node to have because it's like a life goal of really getting in touch with your inner child and existing to discover yourself and to express yourself and to inspire other people. But of course, we have the South Node in Aquarius that's going to represent the energy that we've spent too much time in, whether it's past lives living where we're really developing this Aquarius South Node energy or 11th house South Node energy, or it can represent the way that you developed early on, the sort of circumstances that you were born into and the way that that shaped you. But most basic thing to start with the Leo North Node is essentially finding balance between group ideals and your personal identity, who you are and what you have to express to the world, because this indicates that you are much more comfortable being one within a group and identifying yourself more with the area, the direction that the group is going in. It's a very collective energy, naturally being in tune with other people's energies and really with humanity itself in a way, because having Aquarius energy on your South Node, Aquarius is really future oriented. It's like the direction that humanity is going. So in this way, you have a really special talent for like understanding trends and the way that things are developing to where you are so future oriented. And that can be a real hang up here because analysis paralysis is a big thing with this. Aquarius energy is very emotionally detached. It's an air sign. Leo is a fire sign. That's all about passion. So whenever anything comes up where you're forced to choose between the logical, like technical best, what you should do, shoulds are always pay attention when you're using the word should. Like your inner dialogue, pay attention to shoulds. If the other option is something that might not seem like the best idea in the eyes of the world or like more serious traditional values, all of that, but it lights you up, you feel that passion in your heart, that is always the direction to go. Because what having your North Node in Leo represents is kind of having a suppressed inner child, the part of you that we're all born into the world who we are. Like we're naturally ourselves, and then we get all of this conditioning, we get our parents' beliefs, we get the beliefs of society thrown at us. The way that we're raised really changes a lot about us because we're kind of forced to conform. It's the human thing to do. And you came into life with the energy of having conformity really down. Not, it's funny because Aquarius is the non-conformist sign, but what I mean by conformity is essentially understanding the group in a very special way. It's like having a connection to, it can be your friends or organizations that you belong to or causes even, dreams and goals even. Having those dreams and goals be much more oriented towards groups and towards how the direction that humanity is going. It's naturally incredibly progressive. It's because you're naturally thinking in the future. You're naturally thinking of where we're going. So that's a big priority. Whenever you are within a group, you have the special ability to sense like everybody's, not just their feelings necessarily, but more like their intentions. Deeper parts of them that are connected to what you're naturally connected to. This, like, imagine a channel running between everybody that is, for the most part, unrecognized by most people. You are able to recognize this, what like bonds us together, and you have such a strong connection to this bond idea that you're naturally able to prioritize the needs of other people above your own. And that's where the inner child is stunted, because like I said, we're all conditioned. We are all forced to be inauthentic in certain ways, especially when we're young and we're relying on our guardians for survival and we want to fit in. You naturally have that inclination to fit in, but not for the purpose of insecurity necessarily. It's more the priority, the prioritizing the group. That's what I'm getting at here. It's like such a natural inclination towards helping and towards the future. You're thinking so far into the future, and you're thinking just steps ahead of everybody, like for everybody. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of responsibility. And that's why this lifetime is about having fun, okay? It's about expressing yourself, being creative, and recognizing yourself as who you were before the conditioning. Think back to like when you were a child and what you're doing differently now, and then figure out how you can incorporate those things that really lit you up when you were a kid into your day-to-day life, like as an adult. Because this future-oriented thinking is it's concerned with consequences. You know, if you're thinking so many steps ahead, you're thinking of the consequences, but that's typically not what children do. Children tend to express themselves just very directly. Inspiration, imagination, it just hits them, and then they do the thing without thinking, oh, what are people gonna think? What is this gonna mean for my future? Is this gonna look bad on, that sort of thing. It's that sort of self-suppression is really a sabotaging energy for you in this lifetime. Think of Leo as a sign, okay? It's the sun. It's bright, it's shining, it's kind of lighting the way for other people. Not kind of, it's the center of our solar system. Things should revolve around you, and it's this aversion to be at the center of attention due to intellectualization of like every action. But Leo it's not a sign that revolves around thinking. It's the heart, it's passion, it's romance, drama, creativity, art, things that we do to express ourselves and to find ourselves, things that we do to show other people who we are, to bounce our ideas off of other people, to inspire other people. Leo exists to inspire, and Leo attracts an audience. So do not shy away from audiences, but make sure you're not a part of the audience. You need everyone to be watching you because you have so much to share. The thing is with this is that having a life that is very focused on being authentically yourself and inspiring other people and having attention on you, that seems selfish, but for you it's not, because you are coming at life with such a other-oriented energy. It's like you can see those consequences. That overthinking logical mind sees the consequences, so you're actually able to naturally act in a way that is not selfish, the way that somebody who wanted attention would, And I mean, let's think about Aquarius as a sign. So it's an air sign, it's very logical. It tends to be more emotionally detached, and that can be an issue with this placement. Is when faced with a lot of drama or uncomfortable emotions, like people coming at things with a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, that can be something that is like just too much. The South Node tendency to detach from these situations and just kind of like, you know what, I'll just let that settle itself. That can be a big issue here. Honestly, Aquarius energy is associated with ghosting, and this can be why, because it's like, the thing is, tell me if you relate to this. The idea of, say you had a friend and something happened that made you uncomfortable, or you had a disagreement, whatever it is, and it just didn't feel worth it to address it anymore, so you just kind of faded away. You ghosted them. You ended the relationship without informing them, just assuming, well, we didn't get along, it probably wasn't that big a deal anyway. But like, this person who no longer is in your life, they're devastated because they saw your value. The problem is in not seeing your own value, not really like emphasizing that part of yourself that is you, that makes you special, that makes you who you are. It's like not recognizing that because it's so caught up in who you are within the group. It's not really seeing yourself as an individual. And that can happen with displacement in like any sorts of relationships and friendships and in romantic relationships. This idea of just not valuing yourself enough. And in that way, you can overgive. You can overgive with the purpose of like trying to receive validation, but not in a manipulative way so much as like you're trying to see it in yourself through the other person. But that's why it's so important to see it in yourself first. That's a serious, like, strong foundation within your own identity rather than your role in the group is very important here. There is a tendency with this to be an observer, an outside, just watching other people because you're very used to that. The idea of observing the group and seeing how things are going for everybody. It's like observing the group and watching the games that they're playing. Even if you are also playing the game, you're not standing out. You're just being one of the people playing the game. The ideal thing with Leo, North Node, or North Node in the 5th house is to rule the game, okay? Like kids on the playground, if you have the kid who's sitting back and watching, don't be that kid. But you want to be the kid who is ruling the playground, okay? You want to be the center of attention. You want to be the main source of inspiration and fun for all of the other people because you are filled with creativity and brilliant ideas. And you've spent so much time in this energy of being supportive for others. So much energy that it's put you out of balance, and you really need to spend this lifetime expressing your really unique creative ideas that come from Aquarius energy. Like I said before, it's not a conformist energy. Aquarius is the nonconformist. It's the rebel. It's got all of these innovative future thinking ideas because it is so unique. So you have this incredibly unique personality and just all of these ideas that come from all of the observation that you've done, and all of the like objectivity that you have used upon interacting with other people. You can see how others operate. You can see their motivations and intentions and actions. You can see the consequences of their actions. You're collecting all of this data, but collecting data isn't necessarily helping anymore. You've collected enough data. It's time to join the game, and it's time to give all of this information that you just have naturally like flowing from you to other people. Bless them with your presence, with your who you are. Because Leo is an incredibly generous sign. This is the sign of like generosity and just sharing, because ideally it's coming from a place of such a strong self-concept and a strong sense of like confidence in who you are and not being afraid to express that. Now you actually have a really good idea of the game that is going to be fun for everybody. You have enough information to act now. That's this analysis paralysis thing, this detach from the emotion and look at things very logically before acting. But if you're always trying to collect more data, this can be debilitating because you might never get enough. And honestly, this sort of thing tends to be kind of just an excuse to not start or to not include yourself in a way that would actually be satisfying rather than just like standing on the sidelines. Because you wouldn't have this placement if you didn't have the ability to shine and all of the parts of you that are going to be just like wonderfully entertaining and inspiring for other people. Leo, the passion of Leo, and Leo being itself, this inspires other people to also be themselves. This is one of the most powerful things that a person can do, is to find who they really are and connect with it and then express it, because that genuine expression, it's energetically different. Other people can pick up on it and they sense that you're being yourself, and it frees them. It allows them to be themselves too. Aquarius is not judgmental because it's like, it's open and it's observing. It just wants to see. So that natural lack of judgment that you have within you is really powerful, and people pick up on that. It'll help them to feel more comfortable around you, and therefore more comfortable within themselves around you. But it starts with feeling comfortable within yourself first, which if you don't, definitely have a creative outlet. Definitely just like experiment until you find something. But it's likely with this that you do have some sort of creative outlet, and that is something you want to really embrace. Really do anything that like makes you feel strongly, that brings you passion. Always lean into those things. I mean, this can indicate like being stuck in this feeling of wanting to do something, go somewhere, but feeling really almost falling into despair because you're seeing all of the options, but you're not picking one and going with it. The best thing to do in a situation like that, if you're stuck and you just feel like you don't know where to go, always just check in and ask yourself, what would invigorate me right now? What would feel good and bring me more energy? Don't worry about what you should or shouldn't be doing. Productivity is not the number one thing for you in this lifetime. Fun is. Isn't that great? I think that's great. You can even encounter circumstances or like friendships, circumstances just in general, that make you feel powerless. And this is always to push you into that Leo strength, that empowering self-discovery. Any situations where you feel like you aren't in control and you don't have any power, it's just trying to push you to find that power, because it's there. Like, this is one of the clearest indicators of being an incredibly powerful person. And when I say Leo is strength, I think of like, the Strength Tarot card. And one thing that I was thinking about that this placement reminds me of is the Seven of Cups tarot card, where you have like too many options. You've got like weird stuff in cups. Which one do I pick? That's the thing. You've got so many options. You've got so many options. You've got so many different ways that you could go. So it's really important to just try whatever seems the most fun. Like, which one's your favorite? Do it like a kid would. Look at things and be like, okay, I like this one. Just let it be simple, because there is a real tendency to overcomplicate with this placement. Anything that gets you in the flow state where you're creating and you're not even thinking about other things, you're just focused on creation, lean into those things as strongly as you possibly can. It's also really important with this to connect with other people, because you are in a place where you can inspire other people, and they actually need that. Like, if you spend too much time in solitude, which can happen when things are stressful and you want to emotionally detach from them, but if you find that you're feeling lonely, it's like really important to reach out to somebody somehow and connect with them. But the best way to connect with people that's gonna really enhance this placement is if you can make them feel special. That's a huge thing with Leo, is you're special, I'm special, we're special. And just making people feel good in that way, it's inspiring. It will make your energy levels go way up and just create that inspiration that you're looking for in the moment. Just by being able to recognize other people's specialness without considering them to be like one of all of the group as well. Because there is a tendency towards not just like considering yourself to be a part of the collective, but just considering everyone to be the collective. And it's just like, yeah, everybody's like that. So focusing on any individual people that are important to you and what makes them exactly who they are, what is unique about them, focusing on those unique things and then expressing your own unique things, that really helps this type of energy get out of ruts, because you really do need attention. Leo needs attention. It's like fuel for you. If you can find healthy ways to get attention from other people, to make yourself the center of attention, to stand out in any way, it doesn't have to be a big performance. You can just choose to wear that one thing that you never wear because you think it's too flashy, but you love it. Just stuff like that. Like any little thing that you can do to make yourself feel more like you, always do those things. And there's another thing with this where you are probably really good at not taking things too personally. Of course, so much of this is going to depend on your own personal chart, because some people have their charts kind of set up very much in the energy towards the North Node, but other people have their charts where their South Node energies are really emphasized and it's even harder to get out of them. But for the most part, this placement tends to indicate that you don't take things too personally, and that can be a problem purely because then you might assume that other people don't take things personally. That's why it's really important to get to know people so personally and to get to know who they really are and what's unique about them, because then you also get to learn their way of seeing things and their way of processing their feelings, and you might learn something very important that helps the relationship, because they might care about something that you never even would have thought of, like, oh, that's nothing to me. But if it's important to them, emphasize that and really accept that that is how they are, and don't judge them for being overly sensitive, because everyone's values and what they're just the way that they're going about life is entirely different. And you can see that because you have this objective mindset where you're able to see people's reactions, but you're not necessarily able to interact with them interpersonally as easily. Like if you're just on the outside watching, then you don't know about these interpersonal energetic exchanges, and it's really important to get to know those things and to familiarize yourself with the feelings of other people and their motivations and just how they react to things, because then you're also able to unlock those parts of yourself, because you have spent lifetimes detaching from your own feelings, from making things personal, from taking things as seriously as you might have wanted to. So in this life, definitely take those things as seriously as you want to. Like, be dramatic about it. It's actually really good with this placement to have your delivery be very dramatic, because you can inspire other people and just impassion them. You have this power that they will listen to you, but you have to first be able to build up the place where you're coming from within yourself. Because if you don't have that solid core, then, I mean, people aren't going to be impassioned by that because it's not coming from a place of that genuine Leo strength. But once you've developed the strength, then it'll be easy, because seriously, like, your prescription for this lifetime is to be yourself as much as you possibly can, to always express yourself as boldly and loudly as you want to. It's just funny because this placement indicates that you probably don't want to at first glance. At your first initial reaction is like, no, why would I want to be flashy? But then deep down inside, you love it, okay? It is good for you. Practice anything that you can do where all eyes are on you, and being as genuine as you can in those situations. Like, you can't mess up. Even if you totally mess up your words and you look silly for whatever reason, that's still you. As long as you are being authentically you, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Like, everybody makes mistakes, and showing other people your mistakes can be so empowering, because then you have nothing to hide. This is a placement where you want to build up to where you really have nothing to hide. You're just proud in a really healthy way, proud of who you are, and proud of the people around you, proud of the people that you love. It's a really loving, I mean, Leo is the heart. It's extending that love that you want to have for your inner child. I mean, that's the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself, for anybody really, is by loving your inner child and giving them what they needed, especially back when they weren't getting it. So by giving yourself grace in any circumstances where you're making a mistake, and giving other people grace as well, looking at them like they are a child, that's such a helpful thing. Like, if you look at somebody and then they're annoying you, but then you think of them just as an innocent child, they become less annoying. It's a pretty good trick. And another thing about having such a good grasp on what like the collective dreams are, because the 11th house and Aquarius deal with dreams, like goals, aspirations, that type of dreams. So when you're seeing the collective dreams, there's really no risk of you getting caught up in like having your personal issues become involved. That's not really something you need to worry about, in case that is something that concerns you. Because I mean, so much of this stuff, like I could see somebody thinking that this advice sounds selfish, but you're trying to balance out that axis of self and others. And you're so far into the others that it's never going to be selfish, even if it's never going to be selfish. And the thing with that emotional detaching, I'm not saying that you're emotionally detached like your feelings. Detaching can be incredibly painful. It's not a good thing for you in this lifetime to ignore the problem. It's just that upon not facing the feelings, not only do you have this unresolved pain inside you, but the other people, they don't get their closure, or the issue isn't resolved, and there's just that lingering tension. It's really important to get rid of the lingering tension with authenticity and your genuine reactions. Never the shoulds, never what you think you should say, never what you think that the other person wants to hear. Always just what is true to you, because that can't be wrong. And that is why this is seriously like it's a really wonderful node placement. It's learning empowerment in such a genuine way that once you really learn and understand that being you means you can't do anything wrong, you can make mistakes, that's fine. But your emotions and your heart are a guide for you. So it's not going to steer you the wrong way. And you're never gonna get away from drama, because people have feelings, people have unresolved issues, people have all sorts of things that are causing them to operate the way that they do. You're never going to escape it. So becoming somebody who can really handle those things within yourself, and handling other people in that way, helping them, because you can see the group and you can see what everybody needs. You have a natural talent for this. No drama doesn't mean no problems. You will get the greatest growth from resolving issues, from resolving that underlying tension, from seeing things through. There's this thing with this where you can be excessively concerned with others being valid. Like, oh, that person feels entirely different from me. Well, that's valid. Like, that's fine. That's just who they are. And then you might face someone who, sure, they're valid, but you also completely disagree. And it's actually detrimental for you to not voice that. And it's upsetting you to not voice that. Don't allow others' opinions to stop you from voicing your own. And this is a placement that romance can actually be really important and really fulfilling. Leo, the 5th house, these are associated with, everything that we have that we're expressing creatively that makes us feel special. And casual dating and parties are also associated with that. Because when you are dating somebody casually, you're letting them know who you are. You're giving them the information that you want them to have. And in that way, you're having them validate you. It makes you feel special. It's like showing off the parts of yourself that you want to be shown off. So, but in a more fun way. It's still technically casual, but having strong, committed, emotional, romantic relationships so fulfilling for this placement. You just have to make sure that you're not overgiving, that you're coming at it from a place of your own core empowerment, that you are a solid individual and that you're not going to be over-validating the other person and their opinions. It's really important to go into relationships being 100% yourself, because you're wonderful and people are going to be attracted to you. But if you're like hiding things and feeling shame about them, that's not a good way to form a relationship. Because the thing is, like, this placement indicates that romance is very natural to you. You have an ability to connect with other people in a way that makes romance just so incredibly satisfying for all people involved. You have that natural sense of being able to inspire another person to be so genuinely themselves with you and to build something wonderful together. It's just a matter of making sure that you're not giving so that they will validate something within you that has been unexpressed. It's really important to express your needs. Like at the very beginning of a relationship, clearly express your needs. If you find that there's something that the other person is clearly not doing that you want done, make it clear. Because these sorts of things about you that are you and that make you you, are what are going to be so important within the relationship. When two people are in a relationship, it works because they're two individuals that get along because of who they are. If you are making yourself into what you think that the other person would want to be by looking at things a little too logically, thinking, oh, they would want this, that's not me, but they probably like this, it's not worth it. You want genuine relationships. You want relationships that cause you to feel invigorated, like that inner child is really seen, and that you're able to see the other person's inner child as well, and that you're being genuine together. That's what's going to be fulfilling. Never trying to be something for somebody else or expecting somebody else to do things but then not voicing them. That's going to be the biggest hang up when it comes to relationships. But not just relationships, but children. Having children or just working with children, you likely have a really natural gift with children. There's this thing where Aquarius energy is naturally, since it is so logical and so intellectual, the way that you see children, it's likely that you're not going to do like baby talk with them. You're going to treat them more like adults. Or even if you do like want to use cutesy talk with them, you're still seeing them as like sovereign individuals, not just like those are kids, they're not important. You really do see the individual, like even at any age. And this can be really inspiring for you as well, to see children acting the way that children do, being so genuine and authentic and just having their emotional reactions and messing up and being okay with that. That's a really good energy for you to be around that unconditioned, not yet wrecked by society, young people. And you're a really good influence for them too. And one other important thing about like really seeing the individual traits within people and what makes them them is that with this more detached mindset, this more collective idea, you have likely spent lifetimes receiving in a more just natural flow type of way. This 11th house Aquarius, the idea of being like connected with things and being in the flow, and they're just coming to you and being supported because you are so much a part of the group. That can cause a sense within that kind of doesn't put as much importance on receiving things as other people might, because your soul is pretty used to receiving things. It's used to being not necessarily taken care of, but it's used to being in that receptive flow. So when people give you something, there is a need to express really genuine appreciation. Honestly, the more you can emphasize how much it means to you, the better your relationship with that person is going to be, the just better energy between you overall. Obviously don't like go overboard and lie about it, but really appreciate what is being given to you. Consider the effort, consider the consideration that the other person is putting into any sort of gift or any sort of service that they're doing for you. It's important to recognize, like, I'm not saying you're ungrateful because I doubt it, but it is important to recognize that giving can be a sacrifice for some people, and what it is that they have to give, if you appreciate that, like actively appreciate that in them, recognize their strengths and emphasize those strengths. Emphasize parts of them that you really like and parts of them that you think are really cool. And it's just really good energy for everyone all around. You give really easily. That's another thing why like giving can be possibly a little bit undervalued. Because it's so easy for you to give, you might assume that for other people it is also easy for them to give. And like I said with this placement, there can just be a lack of consideration towards the more personal parts of people, like their specific motivations and like why and how this makes them feel and their reaction to that. You tend to look at things more logically, like they gave me this, so they must this. But like for them, it's more, I hope that makes sense. Because the thing with this is that like, you might actually find that friends have let you down, like over and over, attracting friends that disappoint you in ways. And it can really come from just like not actively telling them what you need, or from that disconnect, like going about things in that more logical way and not considering the feeling behind things as much. But once you have really developed your own emotional core strength, then you'll find that your friendships are much more solid and you thrive in friendships. Like you can absolutely be the beacon of light in the center of your friendship circle, the one that everyone looks to and just admires. That's where you're meant to be in this lifetime. And last thing I want to talk about is this trend, future-oriented power that you have. You might find that throughout your life you have recognized things that were later recognized by groups of people, like, oh, I like this is cool, or I made this up, and then other people are doing it like years later, years after you. You are ahead of trends in this way, and in this way you have this special gift to create very innovative, like pioneering things. When you have ideas like this, just thinking about it is not enough. When you are inspired, you need to create something out of it, because this can lead to so much disappointment. Like, I thought of that so long ago and everybody's doing it now. You're meant to be the one who was doing it first. You're meant to be that person who other people are inspired by. Since you have this natural Aquarius energy, this non-conforming energy, there's no desire to go along with trends and to like blend in and be like other people in that more trendy way. Like, oh, everybody's doing this, so I'm gonna do that too. That is not a motivation for you. And since you don't necessarily have the natural desire to be in the limelight and to be like recognized for certain things, you do have the desire, but it's not an initial conscious desire, usually due to that overthinking. But what I'm saying here is that when you're creating, when you are making these innovative ideas, you're not seeking personal gain. It's not about that for you. It's genuine creativity. It's coming straight from your soul. It's you looking into the future and using your passion to create something. That is so much more genuine and just attractive in general than something that is made up by someone trying to like go viral or whatever. So it's really important to take unplanned risks when you get hit with that passion, to just do it. Don't even think about the future. Don't think about failure. Please do yourself a favor and don't ever think about the possibility of failure, because if you fail, it was great practice. Don't worry about it. You're good. Seek anything that causes like emotional stimulation, anything that fires up passion inside you. Look for those things and have as many of those experiences as you can, because that is what's going to put the fire in your soul, and it's what's going to help you feel more fulfilled, like you're moving in a direction that's really balancing you out. Because that passion is what's going to lead you forward. Thinking about what the technical next best step, that's not the way to go. You want to focus on how you feel about things and what gets you excited and what just naturally fuels you. Use those things as your compass for working through life. That is the most important thing with this placement. And I think I've said enough at this point. So let me know what you think. I'm very curious if you have this placement. It's one of my favorites. I think it's pretty wonderful and really powerful. You're able to create because you're coming from such a good place. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. Bye.